first salesman of any brand is the CEO himself or herself.
Yes.
And if he doesn't have the bent towards selling, then they are in a lost battle already.
Yeah, you may be wonderful with finances, okay, but at the end of the day, if you're not selling, you're not keeping your company afloat.
Absolutely.
As simple as that. Employees make or break an organization. The first few people that you hire are super critical.
Absolutely.
Okay, you must be sure that they are willing to walk along with you at least for the first 5, 6, 7 years and help you build the organization. Willingness to listen. I mean, I always tell my boys that, sales is 80% listening, 10% asking, and 10% talking. The best salespeople are found on the streets. Yeah?
Absolutely.
I have learned some of the best sales tactics from local panwalas and small kirana store owners in bylanes of India. That is where I have learned sales skills. You don't get these experiences in AC offices.
Absolutely. What are the 3 advices that you would like to give to anyone who is beginning their sales career?
If you are committed to becoming a top 1% sales professional, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on the notification. Now, let's talk sales.
Welcome, Tamal, to the Let's Talk Sales podcast. I'm super happy to have you. And I want to start this podcast by asking you, you have a unique blend of experience in supply chain as well as sales. And I believe those two are the backbone of any FMCG, organizations that we have outside.
Yes.
I want to know from you, what do you think has changed over the last decade or so in the FMCG space?
First of all, Sharat, thank you so much for inviting me over for this talk. Yeah, it's a beautiful feeling every time to share your experiences that you have gathered over the years. Yeah, a lot has changed, and you mentioned something like a unique blend. Unique is like putting it mildly, I would say. It was a complete jar from an absolutely operation-facing kind of an outlook to a completely sales and marketing-facing outlook. Although the basics quite remain the same, right? The purpose of any of these functions is to make the business survive.
Correct.
Right, and to make it thrive. And that is pretty much what we aim to do day in and day out. I like saying this, though I'm sure I would have people who would oppose me there, is the fact that I find both supply chain and sales to be pretty thankless jobs. Yeah, because you're out there slogging it out and meeting deadlines, meeting targets, and at the end of the day, it is like that's what you're meant to do. That's your job. Yeah. But a beautiful thing that happened in my career is that because I began with supply chain, somewhere along the line when I transitioned into sales and marketing, I could actually really empathize with the kind of effort that the operations teams put in, the kind of rigor, the daily rigor that they go through. Okay. And I could really, I feel, be that bridge between these two, because normally in FMCG organizations, you would see that we'll leave finance aside for a while, but then, yeah, operations and sales are always at loggerheads.
Correct.
Yeah. But then I could really understand, I could work with them. And I think over the years, as I have led several teams in several organizations, I have been able to mold those sales professionals also in a way where they could really appreciate the kind of effort that these guys are putting in and actually work along with them. Okay. One very common, I don't know, I would say attribute that I have learned while transitioning from, say, supply chain to sales and marketing is ownership. Okay. Because normally as the organization grows, starting from a family stage, it grows up to a tribe stage and then a city stage, different scales, different stages of scaling in an organization, that happen. Somewhere I feel that the divide between teams grows bigger and the silos kind of become stronger. The walls of the silos become much stronger. Okay. And at the end of it, it is something like sales just raises their hands and says, not my responsibility, they were supposed to deliver it here, why didn't they deliver it, and things like that. Okay. And supply chain in turn would turn and say that, things weren't very clear, nobody appreciates what we are doing, there were concerns and things like that. So here, wherever I have worked, I have ensured that the sales team works hand in hand with supply chain, with operations, to ensure that whatever deliverables are to be met are met jointly, and not like, this is what I will do and I will not do anything more than this, and this is what you're supposed to do. It's like a combined effort. I think I've been able to bring the teams together in the organizations that I have worked in that fashion.
That is amazing. From a consumer standpoint, Tamal, what do you think has shifted in the last decade or so? Specifically from a FMCG standpoint.
Oh, a lot. Okay. Um I like saying this. I won't be much loved for this, but I like saying this, that, I feel that gone are the days when, you are a large FMCG brand and you would say that this is what you will get and you will be thankful for it. Yeah. It's the era of the discerning consumer today, a well-read consumer who is slightly higher up the uh, hierarchy of needs also, I would say, considering the amount of disposable income that people have in urban areas today. Why only urban, even in rural areas today? Okay. Information is available. Okay. A lot of information is available at their disposal, and they don't really hesitate to research before they invest in a particular brand or place their trust in a particular brand. Okay. I feel that has changed, and this change is for the good. Okay. Consumers have every right to question any product that they are purchasing, be it food, non-food, whatever. They have every right to question what went into making that product. Okay, because they are bringing it home, they're going to use it, or they're going to feed it to their children, their parents. Okay, so they have every right to ask, and we as manufacturers have this obligation to let them know and be transparent.
Correct. In fact, I remember, as a child, if I had to buy something, I would actually go to the shop and just ask them for a recommendation.
Yeah.
Right. And now it's the other way around. First thing I would do is pull out my mobile phone, look at the best product, best reviews, and the recommendation by multiple people. So my decision to buy is more influenced by the information that is at my disposal than the uncle who was there at the retail shop. I mean, I think I completely resonate with you on that, Tamal.
You know what has changed here, Sharat, is the fact that millennials are today 35% of the spending force.
Correct.
Okay. So I remember when I was younger, or you would remember when you were younger too, right? We go to the local kirana store and we say, for example, we want this salt. And he's like, yeah, you take this.
Yeah.
And we'll be happy. Just because the local kirana uncle has told us that this salt is okay, we trust him.
Yeah.
It's not the product or the brand that we used to place our trust on, but the person who is recommending it. The BOP market still exists in urban areas. Okay. Always shrinking, but it does exist in these urban areas. And there still are pockets where people are very happy with whatever recommendation is being given by the local. I mean, I'm not complaining. I mean, for GT salespeople like me, it's a boon. Yeah. But then at the end of the day, I think most millennials today want to first understand what they're purchasing.
Correct. Yeah.
And a lot of decisions are driven by what their peers are saying about the product.
Absolutely. So, Tamal, now that we've kind of understood some things that are changing, but I was doing some work where before this podcast and after our interaction, I was doing some research around what's happening in the FMCG space, and I want to quote them. FMCG remains to be India's top growth sector, and there are not many sectors that do as much as FMCG does. That's what my research says, and it also says 6 to 9% of annual growth rate is what the FMCG sector is seeing currently. It contributes to about 10% of India's GDP, which is again phenomenal. And it is projecting a surge of 1.1 trillion USD by 2033. And that's what the stats say.
Yep.
And I am curious as an entrepreneur. And I would like your insight on, let's say tomorrow somebody approaches you wanting to build a brand in the FMCG space as a startup, as an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
what would be your go-to, insights be for him?
Hmm.
Now, specifically with respect to sales, what should this entrepreneur be focusing on?
Hmm. 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 I'll touch upon the sales in a few seconds, if that's okay.
Sure.
Sharat. Yeah. Okay. One thing, let me agree with you. We are a country of 1.4 billion people, right? So it's an ever-growing market. Okay, it's an evergreen market.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as long as we keep growing, I guess the requirement for FMCG products in household, I mean, irrespective of whether you are using a premium, I don't know, shower gel or maybe the commonest of soap bars.
Correct.
Okay. FMCG will find a way to make inroads into people's households, okay, into people's bathrooms, into kitchens, into their living spaces, everywhere.
Correct.
Okay, so now if someone actually wants to start something here and would seek my suggestions, what I would ask them to do is first understand the market gap. This is also supremely important for a salesperson. Okay, I like saying that the sales executive is the CEO of his territory.
Correct. Yep.
Okay,
Absolutely.
and it is not very easy explaining it to them. Okay, as leaders, I guess it is our responsibility to condition them, to make them understand how important the work is that they are doing. So from that perspective, anybody who wants to start off in FMCG at this point in time, I feel understanding those market gaps is super important. Creating the right niches is super important. Okay, because like I was saying a little while back, that people today are discerning, the consumers are discerning. Okay, and if you really want to enter the Red Sea, I mean, I really don't know what innovation is left. Okay, because the biggies are already doing a lot.
Correct.
Okay, and you really can't expect to reap the benefits of economies of scale at the beginning of when you start your venture, right? So it is extremely important that you understand that the value that you are creating through what you're offering is well understood. One, it should be easy to understand.
Correct.
Okay, it should be easy to understand. I'll give you an example from our industry, right? So we are from the dairy industry. We at Sits Farm, we are from the dairy industry, right? So despite the fact that we harp upon the amount of crazy testing that we do, right? The crazy amount of testing that we do on a daily basis, just to ensure that every packet of milk that reaches our customers is super safe. Our customers still, our first time customers, okay, the people who are trying our milk for the first time, they judge the quality of our milk by the amount of cream that they get. If it is thick, it's good. So those, it is way more simple to explain those sensory nuances to a customer, rather than really explaining, the research that what we are doing and how it is beneficial to them in the long run, and how they are actually benefiting their family is the next step. The first step is the age-old ways of measuring the goodness of any product that have been existing, and this is like handed down knowledge from our parents, grandparents, and all, and we tend to stick to that.
Correct. Yeah.
To begin with. So whether we are being able to put that across very clearly or not, does the product meet those parameters, or is it like, I feel this is the innovation that the market needs,
Correct.
and I am putting it here. I have met the best of innovators, the best of entrepreneurs, I mean, who probably came up with beautiful innovations. Okay. But I don't know whether they really created or they researched whether the market needed it at that
Correct.
point in time or not. Okay. So just because it's a beautiful innovation doesn't mean that the market is waiting for it.
Correct.
Okay. So those researches are super important. And it is also important to understand that at the end of the day, for an entrepreneur, having a sales outlook or a sales mindset is super important.
Right.
Okay. Because although you may be wonderful at, say, for example, research, you may have a scientific bent of mind. Okay. You may be wonderful with finances. Okay. But at the end of the day, if you're not selling, you're not keeping your company afloat.
Absolutely.
As simple as that. Okay, so realizing that is super important. What I feel is that several first-time entrepreneurs feel that if I have a sales team in place, it is their responsibility to go out and do the sales. But you have to give them the right arsenal, right?
Absolutely.
So as an entrepreneur, do you first understand how your team is going to go out and sell? What is it that they are going to pitch? Okay, how do you feel you would react if you were not the founder of this, but were, say, for example, a retail outlet owner who is being approached by one of your salespersons to sell the product.
Correct.
Yeah, so that is super important. So that sensitization, I think, the sooner it sets in, uh, I mean, the sooner they would start on their road to profitability.
Phenomenal. So two things that you highlighted. One is creating that value proposition.
Yeah.
Number two, having that sales mindset.
Yes.
And I also personally believe that there are a lot of entrepreneurs out there who try, but again, that PMF, product market fit, that value proposition is something that goes for a miss. And I remember in one of our discussions, Tamal, you highlighted that the first salesman of any brand is the CEO himself or herself.
Yes.
And if he doesn't have the bend towards selling, then they are in a lost battle already.
Yeah.
Right. Beautifully highlighted. So, again, in the space of sales, cracking that supply chain is one of the key element, if I understand it right. What should an entrepreneur do in that space?
Okay, that's a tricky one. Yeah. So, as a first time entrepreneur, unless you are willing to invest heavily in production yourself, I think most first time entrepreneurs go in for, shared manufacturing and things like that. There also, it is extremely important that at least the quality team is yours, just to ensure that the product that is made is not merely what you envisaged it to be, but really up to the mark. Okay, so you need to have the quality team out there. As far as supply chain is concerned, yes, you need strong people. You need people who can slog it out. Employees make or break an organization. So, I mean, the first few people that you hire are super critical.
Absolutely.
Okay. You must be sure that they are willing to walk along with you at least for the first 5, 6, 7 years.
Correct.
Okay. And help you build the organization or set the processes in place. So that is super important. Supply chain, the needs are different for different products or industries, right? Like, say, for example, what we need will not be needed by a cookie manufacturer. So,
Correct.
So those ways, like in our case, I mean, unless the founder would really have understood the criticality of cold chain, it would have been super difficult, right?
Correct.
So that understanding is also required.
Right.
That is.
So phenomenal. So for entrepreneurs, value proposition, product market fit, having the sales bent, and having a fair understanding of how the supply chain would work for their specific product is the key, right? If I derive those 4 pointers from this,
An
right?
entrepreneur basically has to do everything. He's a hustler, right? At the end of the day, I mean, it's like I have seen my friends who are running successful ventures now in their initial days when they would probably have a squabble with the transporter and things like that, and they would take out their car and like
they would go, yeah, I've been there and done that.
So,
yeah.
So so from everything, so
Great.
yeah.
Great, Tamal. So moving forward, again, interesting statistics about hiring. I saw that FMCG generates massive employments, almost 10 million employment opportunities, direct or indirect, and 60% of the FMCG roles are around sales. Very interesting data that I came across. So I want to understand from you, if someone is starting off in sales and would want to build a career in FMCG space, how does the entire landscape look like in sales? Well, let's say I'm right out of college and I want to ask, come up to you, send you a LinkedIn message. Tamal, tell me, how is the landscape of sales as a career in the FMCG space? What would that be?
Fortunately for people passing out now or people who are just starting off in sales, the landscape is very vibrant, I would say, right now. Okay, when you and I would have started way back, right? I mean, I remember our ambition used to be either work for, say, for example, an HUL or a Colgate Palmolive, the biggies, and that was like a life goal sort of a thing. Whatever role, even if you are like a frontline sales executive there, you are like, I work for, so and so brand. Uh, Things have changed. There are a lot of great companies, consumer companies that have come up. There are a lot of startups that are changing the entire way sales is approached today.
Correct.
And I feel they have a lot of choice today compared to when we had. But a few basics don't change.
Correct.
Right? Some basic traits that a salesperson needs to have, they don't change irrespective of the industry or the organization that you are working for. Your temperament, your interpersonal skills, your willingness to listen. I mean, I always tell my boys that, sales is 80% listening, 10% asking, and 10% talking.
Speaking, yep.
Yeah, so speaking, yeah, so that's how it is. So they should be willing to listen. They must be willing to gather the data. They should have a sharp eye for detail. Okay, the way the landscape is changing, nobody knows it better than them.
Correct.
Okay, there might be a hush hush campaign by a competitor, and you sitting in your office would never know unless you're the right salesperson out there in the field sees the products being offloaded from a truck and calls you up and like, yeah, this is what they are doing. So keeping those things. So and being your reflexes have to be super quick. Okay, so that is also super important. Okay. I feel so these basics don't change. Okay.
Correct.
Patience, great virtue that any salesperson needs to have. Okay. I remember I had read this somewhere, so the boss asks a salesperson, how many orders did you get today? And he's like, 2. Okay. And he was like, congratulations, you got 2 orders. What were they? He's like, get out and stay out. Okay, so so for a salesperson, I mean, if he is willing to take all of this with a pinch of salt, I think there is no stopping him. This for him or her, stopping the salesperson. They can grow to any extent that they want to.
Absolutely. So, I reflect upon one of the experiences that I had, Tamal, when I was actually coaching one of the FMCG organizations. And to understand their business, I actually sat on their bike, went into those tier 2, tier 3, villages, understood how things happen, how transactions happen, how relationships are built. It was a phenomenal experience, and I would love to know from you any of such experiences of yours. What has been your experience like? What's been your takeaway like from such experiences?
Crazy amount. So I joined the FMCG sector slightly later in the day, right? I was already in my 12th, 13th year of my career when I joined the FMCG industry, and for me, everything was new. So obviously, I also had to, like you did, sit behind a bike and go there. And there were these long days to an extent where I would be like, "Bhai, thoda side le le." I have to stand for a while before I sit on your bike again. Okay, but all of them have paid off beautifully. But you pick up so many things. So I have also worked extensively in the rural markets. Okay, and although it was a quasi-government project, but then of course we were selling there too, right? So completely different set, and I am talking of an era where the internet really hadn't penetrated the rural markets. I mean, optic fibers were a dream. So we used to enter with VSATs and routers and stuff like that. So all sorts of things, right? So I have really seen how the transformation has also happened, and just because I have seen both these worlds, okay, I also know the transformative power of each of the initiatives, be it connectivity through internet, through roads and things like that, the change that it can bring about in remote markets. Okay. Um, this gentleman, a mentor of mine, I won't name him or the very large agency that he works for. He heads the rural division there. And I remember at one of these uh, events where I bumped into him and we were just chatting post lunch and things like that. Okay. And he was wearing probably one of those impeccably tailored suits. Okay, gorgeous looking suit. I was admiring the suit just when he uh, reached into his. Well, let me begin by saying that I don't endorse any of these, but he reached into his pocket, brought out some tobacco, started rubbing it, and put it in his mouth, and I was like taken aback. Yeah, this guy is like, so impeccably dressed, and this is what he is doing. He just smiled at me and he said that I work in rural India.
Hmm.
The moment you sit under a tree and start doing this, you will have an audience. There will be 3 or 4 people willing to talk to you.
Correct.
Okay. Once again, I'm not endorsing any of this, but yeah, I mean, as a
Definitely.
salesperson, you tend to find ways, right?
Correct. Yeah.
You tend to find ways where people thought there wasn't a way. I think that's the biggest strength of a salesperson.
Correct, correct. Fantastic, Tamal. So, Tamal, again, from a career standpoint, if somebody is starting at an entry level, what would their, how would their designations progress? How will their career progress?
Well, you start off as a trainee or an executive in most organizations, right? So I also started off as a management trainee. That's how I started, right? What happens, unfortunately, Sharat, in the sales sphere is that, and you would agree with me there, is that because of the large workforce that is comprised by sales, okay, people feel opportunities are lesser to grow.
Correct.
Okay. And somewhere along the line, I feel that we stop working on ourselves. Okay. So management is very happy keeping you wherever you're performing. I mean, that's a known fact. Okay. But if you have to grow, you have to work upon yourself.
Correct.
How do you gain those leadership skills? Okay. How do you put what you have learned in the market to practice? That is super important.
Correct.
Okay. Rather than just waiting for orders to be barked from above you and just blindly following them, I think it is super important to, there is this beautiful concept of by Stephen Covey called sharpening your axe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know about that, right? So it is absolutely imperative that you keep sharpening your axe. When I think about it, I mean, when I was younger too, I'm sure a lot of young sales people probably still do that. So you meet a lot of other compatriots from other organizations, other
Correct.
industries.
Yeah.
You meet them on field, and you also probably become very good friends. If you would take some time off, rather than bickering about how boring your job is, if you would take some time off to learn from each other,
Right.
I think that would help you rise. That would help you rise. Okay. Because you don't, I firmly believe that with education comes empowerment, right?
Yeah.
So if you are unsure about something, it is then that you are scared of taking on more than what is already on your plate. Okay. But if you have learned, if you are confident of taking on something, I think you will take on more and more. And if you take on more and more and deliver, obviously your growth path is set.
Absolutely.
Okay, the management knows what you are putting in. I
Right.
mean, people feel that because the management is, several layers above me, they don't really care what I'm doing and things like that. But I would like to tell all young salespeople that the management sees everything.
Sees everything. Correct. Yeah.
So just go out there, learn, put in your effort, and it is absolutely okay to even bite more than you can chew.
Absolutely. Yep. And I think that's the beauty of sales, right? I mean, sales has, I think empowerment is there. You go out, close as many deals as possible, meet as many distributors as possible. I think there is no limit that has been set for any sales rep out there.
Exactly.
Right. So let's say a management trainee joins the organization and he does a lot of good work. He learns, he invests in learning, he learns through formal, informal ways. Now, how does he reach the next level and what are the usual designations? Now, Tamal, I'm asking this question because there's a lot of lack of awareness
Hmm.
among the youngsters, because they fancy some of these jobs
Hmm.
which are in the AC kind of an environment with
Hmm.
beautiful buildings out there, but
Hmm.
FMCG demands a different kind of a space,
Hmm.
right? You're out there in the field, you're sweating it out, but it has its own rewards as well.
Hmm.
So wanted to understand, if somebody wants to know how will I progress, what are the things that I will be doing as I progress in my career, how would that be?
Hmm. Hmm. Would you agree with me if I say that marketing probably is more glamorized than sales? Though I refuse to see a lot of difference between the two, but I mean, so what happens is this is exactly what you were talking about, right? People imagining that they would sit in these fancy offices with glass facades, and
Correct. Yeah.
they'll have a desk to themselves and things like that. But the real hustle is out there on the field. Okay, they really need to understand that. Even if you are sitting in an AC office, I mean, let's look at B2B sales, for example. Okay, for B2B sales, it is not like, of course, in FMCG, you have to be in the grind, you have to be out in on the field every day. But then, say, for example, you are selling a tech product, it's a SaaS that you are selling, okay? It is not like you have to go out on a daily basis, okay? Yet the fundamentals of selling don't change.
Correct.
Even if you are sitting in a cushy AC office, right? You have to keep doing your cold calls. Although you're not meeting the person directly, you have to keep doing your cold calls. You have to have your funnel in place. Most
True.
importantly, you have to really realize that whatever you are qualifying as a warm lead, whether it's a warm lead or at all or not.
You're right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so these things, I think that doesn't change. But I personally, because I am from the FMCG background, I feel that it is way more exciting being out on the field. Okay, because now imagine, I go back several years and I'm this young sales executive in a particular area that has been assigned to me, right? I mean, imagine the beauty of it. I am meeting the same 30, 50, 100 people every day.
Yeah.
Okay. And I have the liberty of observing how they react to different stimuli on different days.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And I learn to talk to them depending on, in cruder terms, how their mood is today. Okay. In Delhi, I remember there was this store that we went to. I just went with the field team, and we were going to talk to this store, and this elderly gentleman, and pretty old, almost stooping with age, sort of a thing, and he was sitting at the chair. And I just walked up and I was like, Lala ji, Ram Ram, and he just looks up to me and like, Dobara dikh mat jana dukahi. Okay. So that's the kind of thing. And the same gentleman, 2 hours hence, when he had lesser people at his counter, was willing to give me those 15, 20, 30 minutes that I needed
Right.
and talk to me at length. Okay. You don't get these experiences in AC offices.
Absolutely with you on that.
Yeah, so it's beautiful. One of my favorite examples, by another very renowned author and gentleman, Mr. Sudhir Sitapati. He wrote about his experiences at HUL in his book called The CEO Factory, where he was talking about when he launched Kisan Jams for the first time, and how his sales manager in remote MP, suburban markets, he would go there, tear a sachet, empty half of it into his own mouth just to build that trust, and then shove the rest half into the shopkeeper's mouth. Okay, and then ask him, chutney se meetha hai na? Okay, so imagine he had simplified it to such an extent.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, the parameter that he wanted, or the attribute that he wanted to be associated with Kisan Jam, is that it is sweeter than chutney. As simple as that. You can have it with your roti or paratha.
Correct.
He
Yeah.
had solved it.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
so I think that is super important. As far as the path that you asked, I mean, it again varies from company to company, but in a typical FMCG kind of a setup, it's a slightly longish road.
Yeah.
Okay, so you start off as an executive, you become a senior executive, then an area is assigned to you rather than your small this thing. So you
Hmm.
become an area sales manager. Okay. From an area sales manager, then if you perform well, then there are several areas given to you and you become the territory sales manager. From the territory sales manager, you graduate to becoming a regional sales manager, where, say, for example, an entire region of a country is given to you.
Fantastic.
Okay. And then, of course, you can look at an NSM VP level after that.
Phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Tamal, so far we spoke about entrepreneurs and the job seekers or any early stage sales professional who's wanting to build a career.
Yeah.
Now I would like to go back to the Sits Farm journey.
Yes.
And I would love to know, and before I actually talk about this, I want to quote this event that happened at home. We had guests at home. My wife just, said, okay, lassi peete hain karke. And then she somehow, I don't know how she ordered it, but she got Sits Farm's lassi. And that became our favorite lassi. And even my little one, 4 years old now, he says, Papa, lassi pina hai. And he would take me to that particular shop where I know this Sits Farm lassi is available. So we go there and we grab that lassi. That has become our favorite one. And that's when I actually saw how the Sits Farm journey evolved over a period of time. But I would love to hear it from you as to how the journey started and what is the future looking like.
Another great story of the way I like to put it, a crazy NRI coming back just because he wasn't getting enough kick outside India. Yeah. So that's how our founder, Dr. Kishore, started Sits Farm, right? So he's a highly educated person. He's a research scientist, a material scientist. He was working with Intel in semiconductor manufacturing for about 6-7 years when he suddenly felt the urge to come back and start something for the famous kick that I just mentioned, right? And at later moments, he does confess that what a kick it was. I was almost flat out for a while, sort of a thing. Yeah. But that's how he started. Okay. When he started, also, he wasn't really sure that he wanted to make a brand out of it. Okay. The idea was that I'll have a farm. Okay. I'll have, say, around 50 cows or so. I'll have a small house under a tree. I'll have my lunch under the tree, sort of a thing. So those kind of thoughts. But eventually, people started loving the quality. Okay. And that's when this converted to a brand. So around 2013 is when he started off with his farm, his first set of 20 cows. Around 2016 is when Sits Farm was born. Okay, as a brand, it was born. And the name Sits Farm also comes from his elder son Siddharth's name. Okay, and it has worked beautifully for us because it's a promise of a parent to a child. It's a promise of a parent to a child that you will have access to pure milk all your life. We just wanted to extend this promise to millions of young parents all across, okay, who are worried about what they're feeding their children and who want only the best for their children. Right? And why it has worked beautifully for us is because, for any entrepreneur or for anyone joining a startup also, I would say, understanding the why of the business is super important. Sorry, I'm quoting a lot of Simon Sinek here, but so understanding the why is super important. Why do we exist in the first place? That is super important. Okay. And if you look at our workforce, okay, people who work at Sits Farm, the average age is somewhere around, I don't know, 25, 26 years. That's the average age of people working here. I mean, Kishore, we are probably the oldies. And for such young people who are not even married yet, let alone have children, okay, it is extremely important that they understand a parent's perspective. Okay, so we wanted that central pillar, and each one of us is super proud to be working with Sits Farm, whether they are a parent or not, because they know what problem they are solving for parents. Okay, so that's how Sits Farm exists. I mean, we had started off with a few hundred liters of milk. Today, we process about 60,000 liters of milk a day.
Amazing.
Okay. But that's just one side of the story. The mind-boggling number really is that for these 60,000 liters of milk that we process on a daily basis, we do about 14,000 tests every single day.
Amazing. That's
Okay, so on a good day, we reject about, say, 300, 350 liters of milk. On a bad day, we have had to reject 3,000 liters of milk too. Okay, so that's how seriously we take testing. That's how seriously we understand the need for this testing. Okay, saying it is one thing, okay, but really putting it to practice day in and day out, that's where the real grind lies. Okay, and I think we have been able to do it so far, and we will continue to do it all
fantastic.
through.
Fantastic. So that brings me to a very important aspect of what's happening in the society currently, Namal. We see social media influencing a lot of consumers. And recently there was this viral video about fake paneer. And I'm sure you would agree that there is so much of a misinformation that is there in the market saying, I mean, I have a friend, I'm sure they will not like me saying this, vegan is another word to go to. And I have, as a child, grew up drinking milk, and now people say no milk and things like that. So there's a lot of, I would say, trust deficit in the society today because of a lot of things that are probably misinformation. You have YouTube influencers talking about so many things, and as a consumer, I think we get influenced by it. So I know Sits Farm is doing amazing job around this to combat this entire narrative that's been there. I would like to hear it from you as to what do you do to combat this particular narrative that's been sold currently.
Paneer is actually better of the evils. Let me tell you that. Okay, I mean, the very basic, starting from the very basic milk that you are feeding to your 2-year-old, 3-year-old. I mean, adulteration starts there. Okay, so it is important to work on the root.
Correct.
It is important to work on the root. It is important to work closely with farmers to make them understand the importance of ethical dairy farming and how they can make money even without resorting to any ill practices, if I may put it that way. Okay. I mean, the basic concern that leads to, say, for example, anything being mixed in milk to make it appear thicker, like urea, or to preserve it, like, say, hydrogen peroxide or formalin, it emanates from the fact that the farmer feels that he or she is not getting paid enough. Okay. If you take that out of the equation, and if the farmer feels that they are getting paid justly for what the efforts that they are putting in, okay, I really don't think this is a very large problem to combat.
Got it.
But it's a systemic, long drawn, thing that has to be religiously followed, and you have to continuously keep working with farmers, farmer groups, and help them understand this. Okay. Of course, paneer, like you said, analog paneer is a large problem that we see. Okay. FSSI also has now is cracking down vigorously on it, and has made it mandatory to mention if the paneer is not made from real dairy sources. Okay. So in that scenario, I think it is advisable that the customers choose wisely. And like I said at the beginning of our conversation, that it is the right of the consumer to question, and they must question where this paneer that I am consuming is coming from. Okay. And they can always read ingredients. Okay. That's not something we are used to do. For ages, we have been conditioned to buy whatever is marketed well, unfortunately. Okay. But then every time you pick up a packet of food, and if you read what the ingredients are in there, you can make out for yourself whether it is actual paneer or an analog one. Okay. And I think the consumers can make their decisions for themselves. Trust the right brands, ask the right questions, and only then place your trust in brands, even when it comes to a brand like us, like Sits Farm. They should question, they should continuously. I mean, every Saturday we host this visit at our farm, right? So where hundreds of people come every weekend, and we take them on this walk. We show them what ethical dairying really means and the efforts that we put in and what they should know about dairying. Okay, so that transparency is super important.
Correct.
And I feel if the consumer starts questioning, none of us would not want to show them.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So that again, the power lies in the hand of the consumer.
Mhm.
They have to take the right decisions.
Right, absolutely. I'm glad, Tamal, that you said that you're actually, by educating, by these field visits, you're empowering the customer
Yeah.
to actually make their wise choice.
Hmm.
And I think that's something that I really liked when I read about Seds Farm. You know, these visits actually bring us close to what is being done in the real time. And I, as a consumer, would actually be taking a strategic decision than just these marketing gimmicks and all that. Amazing job done there.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what is? I'm sorry. I
No,
cut you
no
there.
problem.
You know what is even more heartening is the fact that somebody comes with their family, does a visit with us, okay, understands everything, and I see them back at our farm a month later. They have brought their neighbors along this time.
Amazing.
Okay,
Amazing.
so that itself is a reward, right?
Absolutely.
There is someone who has gone back, educated, empowered, and he wants more people to know.
Correct.
Okay, so that I feel is beautiful, the way it pans out.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
So I have a very interesting question for you, Tamal, here.
Yeah.
If you had to choose a brand ambassador for Seds Farm, who would that be?
You. Geez, you just said that you love our lassi.
So
Honestly,
we're signing up the contract now.
any day now, yeah. Yeah, but on a serious note, who better than our own consumers?
Consumers, right?
Than our own customers, who can testify, who are using this day in, day out. Okay. I mean, I am not denying the power of, the marketing through influencers or through celebrities. Okay. That definitely has its upside. Okay. But then for a very basic product like ours, which is milk, okay, you literally, India wakes up with milk every morning.
Correct, yeah.
The first cup of tea or coffee that you have that has milk in it.
Yeah.
Okay, so India wakes up with milk, and for something that basic, I feel people who are using it will be the best spokesperson for it. Okay,
Amazing.
and we encourage our customers to also, by means of rating, of course, and leaving their reviews, really tell what they think about our brand and about our products, and I feel that works beautifully for us.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah, but like I said, so you were mentioning about social media and influencers a little while back. So last weekend I was in Bangalore, so I usually hold the farm visits here in Hyderabad. Right? So last weekend I thought I'll take a break and I'll probably go to Bangalore and do it there. We have a farm there too in Tumkur, right? So we have customers coming in. Most of the people who turned up last Saturday at our Tumkur facility had come up because they saw a video on Instagram by an influencer who endorsed our product and they wanted to know more.
Amazing.
Okay, so I am certainly not discounting the power that comes along with it. But like I said, I mean, we have got 36,000 happy customers. I mean, that's a large voice.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's move into some fun element now, Kamal. So I want to ask you some quick rapid fire questions, and let's see what unfolds for us.
Sure.
So this section is called hype or worth it.
Okay.
All right. Let's jump in. Let's dive in. Right. Vegan milk, hype or worth it?
Okay, depends. I'm allowed to give diplomatic answers, right? See, it depends. I mean, a lot of people, I mean, we from the dairy industry, you would expect us to say that lactose intolerance is a myth. It is not. Okay, there are people who are lactose intolerant.
Correct.
Okay. I mean, vegan milk is a beautiful option for them. Okay, so that's why I say it depends. It's not exactly a hype. Okay, if it works beautifully for your body and your body is responding well to it, why not?
All right. Okay. Plant-based protein.
Plant-based protein, currently still in the hype stage. Okay, we'll wait to see what unfolds. Okay, I have a very basic theory here. Okay, plant-based protein, or let me be a little more precise, plant-based meat. Okay, if I am a vegetarian and if I have grown up eating veggies, why would I have this sudden craving for meat, and why do I have to
Correct.
have a plant-based meat? And if I am a non-vegetarian, why would I supplement it with something plant-based? Okay, I would rather just give it
Absolutely.
up if I have to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so currently still in the hype stage. We'll see what
Right.
unfolds.
Millets and everything.
Oh, definitely worth it.
Worth it? All right.
Definitely worth it.
Okay. And organic, everything organic, like right from sugar to salt. I know we at home we replaced white salt with pink salt and organic pink salt.
So I think quickly shifting from hype to worth it. That's where it is. But yeah, like I said, so I am not getting into the debate of whether it is organic is truly organic or not.
Mhm.
Okay. But just the fact that people are waking up to this and
Mhm.
people are making healthier choices for their kitchen goes into say a lot.
All right.
I feel that way really
All right.
worth
It's
it.
worth it.
Yeah.
Last one, energy bars, multi-grain energy bars, and so much and so on and so forth.
Absolutely worth it. Unfortunately, hasn't picked up as quickly as it should have, but its time will come.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
worth it. Yeah, I can
Okay.
vouch for it.
Amazing, amazing. So, Tamal, I want to go back to that segment of hiring. We discussed a lot of interesting things and you gave us a lot of insights as well. But let's say somebody comes to Sits Farm today and is interviewing for a sales position. From a sales skill standpoint, what are the things that you would look for?
Well, it might sound funny, but one thing that I look for is a sense of humor. Okay, that wit is super important. I'm reminded of this a joke where there was this gentleman who would not give an appointment to a sales guy, and this guy was desperate, and the other person just the lead just told him that I can't see how I can give you an appointment today. And he was like, that's exactly why I am coming, because I'm an eyewear salesman. Okay. So I think it is super important to have that element of wit, that quick shooting is super important because everybody appreciates that, right? Well, I fortunately do not have to interview a lot of people down the line because I feel that it would get a little intimidating for them and they might not be able to open up as much. But that is what I tell people down the line also, that every time you interview, it is extremely important, because what I feel is that they also become the best cultural fits. Okay, in any organization, they become the best cultural fits, and sales is an organization in itself. Okay, so just to ensure, I mean, they are going through a lot any which ways, day in, day out. So that is super important. Apart from that, I think a sense of numbers is super important. They need to have an eye for detail. Reflexes must be super sharp.
Correct.
Yeah, that is super important. Okay, and one thing that they cannot do without is resilience.
Correct.
Okay, there's a huge amount of resilience that is needed by a salesperson, and I keep telling boys that you may be shouted upon, people may be rude to you, but then at the end of the day, you need to realize that they aren't really talking to you as a person. Okay, they are in conversation with the brand. Okay, and you are not in the other person's shoes, so you really don't know what the other person is going through.
Right.
Right. So don't judge, don't feel demotivated by that. I understand for a young person right out of college in a sales job, a huge number of rejections in a day could be overwhelming.
Correct.
They might at times feel like, yeah, what am I doing? Is this what I'm here to do? And things like that. I think we were discussing this the other day. To me, the definition of a salesperson is one who gets barked at by the boss inside his cabin for about half an hour. Comes out and says, "Pagal hai, kuch bhi bolta hai." Okay, so I think that quality is super important in a salesperson. Yeah. And again, on a lighter note about numbers, like I said, that they chase numbers. So a good salesperson should not only know how much to achieve this month, but also how much to hoard for the next month. Yeah, so that is also super important. So uh, basically, a salesperson, if you ask me, frankly, Sharat, I think they are best poised to become CXOs in an
Correct.
organization.
Yeah.
Okay, they can grow into that position, and the only thing that would discern them is this quick thinking and amazing ease with numbers is what I would say.
Right.
Okay, so this, and I don't say it for nothing that even a sales executive is probably the CEO of his particular area, because uh, he is the one who is most equipped to take those last minute decisions on his or her feet as to what is to be done to make this deal happen.
Correct.
Okay, and that I feel is what the primary quality of a salesperson should be.
Correct. I think you rightly said, Tamal. As a sales professional, I think we develop that so much of business acumen
Yeah.
that we have the potential to become the CEO, and then adding on to that all the skills like ability to fight back, ability to stay resilient, ability to stay humble, even if even if you have cracked all the big numbers.
Yeah.
And you rightly said again, humor is something that is, I've seen this, Tamal. In fact, whenever I see the people in the FMCG space, hitting a field, they have a different sense of humor than the guys who would probably sit in the fancy office and do cold calling and all that. I think they have a unique and a very, very unique kind of a sense of humor. That's been my feeling. And in fact, when I remember I interviewed a couple of guys for one of our clients. We have this job portal where we get a lot of sales guys putting up their data, and we hire for a lot of our clients. And every time we interview, we actually look at the difference between the people from the FMCG space. They bring in a unique perspective, because probably now when I connect the dots back, I think they are the CEOs of their territory, right? They understand the business a lot more. They have that business acumen a lot more, and they are capable to do a lot of wonderful things. Right.
Would you agree with me, Sharat, if I said that the best salespeople are found on the streets? Yeah,
absolutely. I would agree to you.
They are, right, and I mean, no offense to others, but I have learned some of the best sales tactics, I would say, from local panwalas and small kirana store owners in bylanes of India. That is where I have learned sales skills. And you were talking about humor, right? I'm just reminded of this incident where I was in Lucknow. Okay, and in Lucknow, people have a caustic sense of humor. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So there was this pawn shop where I was traveling with a very senior person from the ad fraternity. Okay, a very senior person. And he suddenly had this urge of having a pan. यार लखनऊ में है पान खाएंगे चलिए so we go to this shop which is no wider than this, okay, slightly longish, it's deep, but it's no wider than this, and the guy is sitting in one corner there. He goes in there, and in those days those large folio bags were in fashion, right? So where you have all your cards on one side. So this gentleman opens it, and he probably has a card from every bank in India, right? So he has this huge stack of cards out there. And this guy who was sitting in the other corner slides to the front of the store, looks at him, and he asks him, "Naam kya hua aapka?" Okay. And he's taken aback. Nobody has asked him this before from a pawn shop. Naam kya hai aapka? The naam kya hua aapka? And he's like, so and so. Why? And he's like, oh, nahi, humko laga udhari chand hoga. So, this sense of humor, I mean, unless you really know how to use this for selling, and you use selling as a life skill, I really don't think you develop this sense of humor.
Absolutely. Love it. Amazing. So we have another rapid fire for you, Tamal.
Okay.
And for this one, we have a very special hamper.
Oh, okay.
And only if I love the answers.
All right. All right.
All right. Let's dive in.
Yeah.
Your best sales advice in one sentence.
Stay real. It is extremely important because people see through you. If you are really making things up, people see through you. Okay. In a bid to sell, don't really sell false promises, and then you don't live up to it and things like that, because it's the same market that you have to go back to tomorrow, irrespective of whether it is representing the same brand or some other. You would be known as a person. Your channel is places their trust on you as a person, not on the brand.
Absolutely. Got it. So you worked in B2G as well. So I want to bring in that element, a little bit of B2G, G to B2C. That's what I remember.
Yes.
B2B, B2C, B2G. Which one would be your favorite?
Oh, B2C any day.
Yeah. Okay. A brand sales strategy you would secretly admire.
Brand sales strategy?
Yeah.
Oh, that one is a tough one. um, I think any brand that uses any experiential method,
Mm-hmm.
okay, any experiential immersive method where the customer is made a part of a whole experience and not merely the product itself, I feel is doing wonders. Okay. Um, I don't know if you remember this famous tea brand's uh, installation a few years back outside India, of course, somewhere on the banks of Thames,
Mm-hmm.
where they had actually put a large kettle out there, and there was smoke emanating, steam emanating from
Interesting.
it,
Mm-hmm.
and there was music. So it was a whole experiential thing, and just by looking at it, looking at the colors, looking at that kettle by itself, you didn't really need to tell the customers what brand we are talking about. They would know. So this whole thing of subtly selling, I think, is anyone who does that, I admire that.
Lovely. Lovely.
Okay, I probably, if you have another minute, I mean, I was just today, one of the leading uh, QCOM players has made an installation in Mumbai in one of the beaches, where through a shadow, so they have got this board with a stencil like cutout, and the
Okay.
sunlight is falling through it. So on the shadow there is a negative this thing, and on the sand you can read, that so and so moisturizer delivered in 10 minutes by so and so. So anything experiential, I feel it's a beautiful way to sell.
Amazing. Amazing. Lovely. So there's always a fight between marketing and sales. What's your favorite, marketing or sales?
Okay. Marketing that leads to sales.
Okay. So another one is one FMCG sales trend you think must disappear.
Dumping, force selling.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is one trend. I know there are numbers to be met. I know there are AOPs, and I know there is a board that one is answerable to, and things like that. But yet you are not doing your brand any favor by really, uh, force placing 1.2x, 1.5x of what the appetite of a particular outlet or a channel is.
Got it.
So I think that really needs to stop. People need to both organically and inorganically work towards expanding the market, or expanding the category itself, rather than just force placing it, hoping that it will work.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Retail versus quick commerce. And a quick commerce is like, the in thing right now. But
Yeah.
what would your favorite be, retail versus quick commerce?
See, I slightly traditional marketer, right? So I am more of a touch and feel kind of a guy. But I feel quick commerce is also, especially in domains of fashion, I think they are taking great strides there, where the entire digital experiential is evolving for the customers, where you can really try on a glasses, try on a shirt without even going to the. So they both have their advantages and disadvantages. I mean, I feel eventually what is going to happen is there are going to be categories which would work beautifully in each one of these. Yeah, I mean, if I want to, say, for example, buy rice or vegetables, I would probably want to go to a retail store and get the touch and feel before buying it. Okay. While for other things, I feel I would want to enjoy the convenience of ordering from my home and getting it delivered in under 10 minutes.
Got it. Got it. Fantastic. So a lot of trends again have changed. Another question for you is shelf space or screen space? Well, screens are dominating today.
Shelf space, yes, because shelf space is visibility for me. Okay, I'll tell you a trend that happens in our dairy industry. Okay, so one of the things that really irks us in the dairy industry is the return of these milk crates from the market. Okay, I mean it takes a while for milk crates to come back from the market, and then we have to push. I realized this somewhere along the first 1 or 2 years of my stint in dairy, that salespeople actually leave those crates stacked in front of a store because that is branding. Anybody walking in actually sees that stack of crates and they're like, oh, this brand is available here. So that's free publicity for him, free branding for him. He just has to leave the crates back there in front of the store.
Got it. Fantastic. Fantastic. Rural tradition or urban modernization?
Oh. Urban modernization that makes the best of rural tradition, I guess. I mean, see, we are all going back to our roots. We were talking about organic a little while back.
Correct.
We spoke about millets a little while back. Okay. I mean, millets are a big thing now. Okay. At my home, for the 8-year-old that I have at home, for her, millets are a must. I mean, her mother insists that a lot of stuff that comes into our kitchen should have millets in it. And things like that. Okay, I don't remember my mother making a fuss about me having millets. So I think that waned somewhere in the middle, but I'm really happy that that trend is coming back. Okay, so whatever best we can make of our traditions, of course, let go of what is not relevant.
Yeah.
Okay, but whatever is best for us and would help us, let's say, live a fuller life, I guess we should adopt that.
Got it.
Yeah.
So this is a very tricky question, I would say, but let's see what comes out.
Okay, if you are saying it's a tricky question, I better
Not a tricky one, Tamal, honestly. How would your team describe you in one word?
In one word? My goodness. I hope they don't call me Hitler behind my back. But no, not really. I think one thing that I have heard people call me behind my back, and I've been privy to that, is Guruji. Because I have this habit of making people sit and share my experiences and my learnings from different books, from different people that I have met. Because I feel that the sole purpose of a leader is to create more leaders.
Yeah.
Okay, forget chasing numbers, forget whatever KPIs that you are chasing as whatever position you hold as a leader in the organization. Apart from that, the sole responsibility of a leader is to create more leaders. And this is what I want to leave behind too. Okay, I want to create people who learn from my experience and add on to it the experience that they have in their life. And I would expect them to pass it on to people working with them in the future too.
Fantastic. So we'll call you Guruji. So we come to the last segment, Guruji. So the last segment is, we wanted to keep the best to the last, right?
Okay.
And that's where, Kamal, I met you, and when I met you, the entire journey that you explained about you, how you started and where you are today, it inspired us a lot. In fact, when you went back to office, we were talking about the entire journey that you had. I would love to again hear from you your journey. And from your journey, what are the 3 advices that you would like to give to anyone who is beginning their sales career?
Okay.
So first the journey, and then we would love to hear your advice.
Sure. Like you made it very clear in the beginning of this conversation that, I started off as a supply chain professional. Okay, that's who I was. I've been through the grind. And I think I had told you about this, where in my first job, I was made to unpack and sticker printers, okay, for a very long time, for 3 months. And here I was, a management trainee from a premier institute, and I was sitting in a warehouse in an assembly line, unpacking printers, putting stickers on them, scanning them, putting them, and it tends to get to you after a while. What was the purpose of all this education? Is this what I was supposed to do? But my then boss, fine gentleman called Mr. Purushottam, he called me one day and he was like, let's have lunch. And we were having lunch, and He was like, you must be frustrated, you must be cussing me under your breath, sort of a thing. That hey, kya kaam karwa rahe hai, and things like that. But this is a lesson that I want to give you. In any industry, whenever you start, irrespective of at what stage of your career you are in, unless you roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty, you will never learn it fully.
Correct.
Okay, it is one thing to learn it from balance sheets and from other people's version of what they think of this industry, and it's a completely other thing to actually really face the heat and the grease and learn it on your own. And I have not let go of that all through my career. Okay, so printers, then happened B2B e-commerce, one of the very first B2B e-commerce companies in India. We used to do stationaries, about 17,000 odd SKUs. It was sheer madness. Yeah, a bit of technology, ad spaces, working with one of the largest outdoor advertising companies. Okay, and then the rural marketing stint that happened, one of the longest ones, and that was life changing. That was literally life changing, right? Because I mean, regrettably so, have been city bred since my birth. Okay, small cities, but yes, city bred nonetheless. Okay, so this was a completely new world for me. I have been to villages before, but to live there, to work there, to eat from the same plate, to understand their cultural nuances was a completely different this thing. Okay, and although we have kind of narrowed the divide between the India and the Bharat that we talk about. Okay, but I feel that that's a beautiful sector to work in. Okay, and then the dairy bug bit me. I think it was my exposure there that I fell in love with the whole rural culture, with farming and things like that, and that is where dairying happened. Right after that, I've been a dairy professional for over a decade now. Yeah. Uh, Almost seen everything that could happen in dairy. Yeah. So that's about it. So, three advices that you asked, right? So, what I would like to tell young professionals: one, learn well. Okay, like I started off by saying that please be ready to roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty, and learn from the very grassroots level, because unless you do that, you really won't succeed. Yeah. Two, stay humble. It is super important to stay humble, because unless you are humble, you will not learn. And the day you stop learning, that's like professional harakiri. You can't really grow from that.
Correct.
Okay, so it's super important to stay humble. And three, for all sales professional, and I'm saying this from personal experience, please take care of your health. We salespeople are infamous for eating anything, sometimes going without lunch for several days together and things like that. But then it is extremely important to take care of your health, because this is what is going to help you when you are in your late 30s, 40s, etc.
Fantastic, fantastic, Tamal. Thank you so much, Tamal. It was a pleasure having you at our podcast. Let's talk sales.
Thanks, Sharat. It was lovely being here, lovely being able to share all this with you.
Thank you.